Hi, this is Scott. I'm here with Dan. We're at Walla Walla Point Park. This is one of the best places to bird in Washington State. We're really lucky to have it. And we're out here videotaping us having a session of bird watching so that you can come and do this on your own later on. So we're at the parking lot area near the children's play area. There's Dan, and he's going to show you first how he sets up his notebook for his birding session.
So we're going to follow a standard procedure for doing a field notebook, an ornithology field notebook. And I have here on my page the format we use. We have the location, Walla Walla Point Park, Chelan County, Wenatchee, April 7th, 2020. And this is just a list of the species that we can see from the park or on our walk today. And so far there's a lot of birds down here. We want you to get down here right away because you can see all these ducks mostly just with your naked eye. If you have your binoculars, you can see them very well. So right now we have mallards, American widgeons, American coot, Canada goose. We have American robins that just were flying around. They should be at your house too. We'll write down species as I see them. We have common mergansers, a large duck with a long red bill. We have little buffleheads down there, a small duck with a white head. Writing down as I go. And you can see these ducks here for another couple weeks, so you get down here right away and see them. And then Scott will talk later about sketching them and our different notebooks, but for now we're just going to concentrate on looking at the birds, coming down to Walla Walla Point Park, and of course practicing physical distancing, but certainly come down here as much as you can. Beautiful spot to observe birds.
All right, so once again, we are right here at the swimming area, and there are so many birds that you can see. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to show you what it looks like through binoculars or a scope, but Dan, tell us what we have here right in front of us and maybe a thing or two about what's going on.
Okay, so there's a large flock of American widgeons that spends the winter here. They'll be here for another about 2 more weeks. So there's lots of mallards. Mallards will be here all spring. And mallards are paired up. So there's a male and female mallard. The mallards, the females are plain mottled brown color, and the males are bright green heads. And the widgeons are out there in a flock. They have black and white rumps. And there are mergansers. Over on the left, there's some hooded mergansers. And on the far side, there's common mergansers. And those will be here all spring. They may be a little harder to find because they're going to be nesting here pretty soon. There's Canada goose. There's a Canada goose over on the right. Scott will pan over towards that. There'll be lots of Canada goose here. There's little buffleheads, and they'll be here for another couple weeks too. So try to get down here as soon as you can. Just sit here on one of these aluminum picnic tables.
Here comes a gull.
Here's a ring-billed gull coming in.
I hear a killdeer.
There's a killdeer coming in too. They're on the shore here. They're a little shorebird with black and white stripes. It's a mallard call.
It's the American widgeons are the ones making the whistling sounds you hear.
Can you hear the mallard? The mallard's pretty noisy. So we can see all these species here with our naked eye. We'll get the binoculars distributed to everyone, and you guys will be able to see these species in detail. Let's zoom in here on my page, you can see how I record the species. So I have, again, Walla Walla Point Park, Wenatchee, Chelan County, April 7th, 2020. Mallard, American Widgeon, American Robin, Common Merganser, Hooded Merganser, Killdeer, American Coot, Canada Goose, Bufflehead, Violet Green Swallow, Pied-billed Grebe, and Ring-billed Gull, all right here from this park bench.
We're about to walk north. We're gonna head into the Horan wildlife area, which again is a really great place to see birds. So we'll follow this path north, and I will put a map to let you know exactly where we're going. This is something we'd like you to do. I think at this time, getting out when you can do it safely is something really important, not just for our class, but for your psyche. All right, so we've walked north toward the Horan. This is kind of a famous landmark, Richard Beyer sculpture. Coyote leads the salmon up the river. This is actually cast aluminum, and we have at least one sculpture by Richard Beyer on our campus, just for interest. But we're gonna keep heading over here, and there's a spot just in front of us where we'll stop and look at some more birds, hopefully.
Okay, here we are overlooking the bay on the Columbia River. This is a famous bird watching spot. You see all kinds of rare and common species here. Right now there's 3 kayakers out there, and they disturb the birds a little bit as they go by, but then the birds will come back. And out here on this big mud flat, we have some green-winged teal and American crows, and you'll need binoculars to see these birds, but there's also likely to be herons and kingfishers and osprey and lots of species from this vantage point.
So before Dan and I started doing this class, I was very interested in birds, but I really had no idea the number of species that we had around. I mean, when I was walking, I was just hearing birds or seeing birds. But the more I learned about the species, the more things opened up for me, and it's just an incredibly rich experience to see in an average place how many different species there are in any given spot.
So in this location here, we're still in Walla Walla Point Park. We're starting to come up on some natural habitat. This is a lot of black cottonwood and chokecherry. And down below here we have a couple Steller's jays, which are here during the winter. Again, they're going to be gone here in a few weeks. And then if we pan over towards the field, you can see there's a bunch of robins out in the field and Canada geese. I'm going to write this all down in my field notebook. This is the journal section of my field notebook. And like Scott said, lots of bird diversity here. Some of the best bird watching spots in Washington State. And we could see 50, 60 species in one day. But if you just see 4 or 5 or 10 species when you come down here, that's fine, because there will be a test at the end, and all the species on the species list will be fair game. So get down here and try to learn these species. And you can look up species, of course, on the internet to get a better look at them. Right now there's at least 2 Steller's jays calling. So come down here, quietly observe, listen, look, hold still, be patient, and keep notes. Keep track of your notes. We'll talk more about some other kinds of notes we can take with our species accounts. Right now we're listening to these Steller's jays calling and making all kinds of weird noises. They do that. And there's lots of robins right around here too.
All right, we just came from up there. That's the loop trail up above. This little pavilion here with some information about bird watching. And then this is the entrance to the Horan natural area. And this is a place that people come from around the state actually to bird here. It's quite famous. So this is where we would be doing our field trips often. There's lots of things that we can see when we go in here, and we're encouraging you when you can to get in, get down here, take a walk through, and see the various things that there are to offer here.
Here I am at the entrance to the Horan natural area. Off to my left we have a grove of black cottonwood trees. And there's a chickadee nest box in this tree. We're hearing a ring-necked pheasant, and again there's lots of Steller's jays. Here on the right we have some rose, our wild rose. It's called Nootka rose, Nootka, Nootka rose. Common rose has rose hips, you can eat the rose hips. And here's the channel with all the ducks in it. And I'm making a species list. We'll build a species list up over the quarter, and then you'll be responsible for knowing those species. And you'll also record them in your field notebook. I turned it off, it doesn't quite get this going here. So here I have a birding app, a bird book on the handheld iPhone. And this one is a ringneck pheasant I pulled up from the bird app. I need to go back to ringneck pheasant, and we're hearing one right now. I can play the song of the ring-necked pheasant. Doesn't sound right. Let me get back on ring-necked pheasant. There's ring-necked pheasant. And play the song. Let me play the song. There's the right song. Now we'll see if this ring-necked pheasant will come up to us. He's only about 100 feet away from us, but he's in this thicker brush right here. Let me play my song again. This is called playback. We use it a lot in ornithology to get a good look at the birds we want to see. As long as we don't disturb them too much, we'll play that song a couple times and see if he'll come out. So ring-necked pheasant, a bird that's on your species list. It's an introduced bird, but they're native to this area. Or they're not native to this area, but they're common here. They're not native, they're introduced. Well, this seemed to have scared him more than it brought him out. But
this is a really good spot that we tend to stop at, just a little ways into the Horan area.
Yeah, this is a great spot right here. We've seen great horned owls here. You can see the wood ducks from here. You can see I always have my iPhone out. Here I'm on a page called eBird, where we turn in all of our checklists. And then you can look up other checklists and see who's seen and what they've seen down here. So I have my eBird, I have my my app. I have the Sibley app. But there are lots of other different apps down here. You can see that the app has range maps on it, and you can go to the species. For every species, there's lots of pictures, and I'm going to write down species. I hear frogs and robins, and we're in a big stand right here that's mostly black cottonwood. We're looking for little woodpeckers called downy woodpeckers. They're usually in here too. But you need to have your phone, your app, and your notebook. When you're out here, you're taking a class. You're not strolling around. You need to follow our procedures, which are standard procedures we always use.
We've just come from there, and this is the place where the trail splits and becomes a loop, and we're going to go to the right here first, I think, and we're at the area where you should probably see some red-winged blackbirds. We've seen gray catbirds in this area.
Yeah, there's also a bald eagle nest down here we'll get to in a minute, but let's look at the notes again just to remind you. So we just heard a red-winged blackbird. Red-winged, it's on your species list, blackbird. Write that down here. I just heard another bird.
A woodpecker.
A woodpecker. I also heard a Say's phoebe. Phoebe. It's called a phoebe because it sounds like the call the bird makes. Phoebe.
So, Dan, you're putting down birds that you heard as well as ones that you saw, correct?
Yes, I can identify 99% of all these sounds out here because I've been bird watching since 1961, so that's about 50 some years. So I kind of have learned over the years to identify them by sight and song.
Sometimes in your notes you will write HO for heard only or something like that.
Yeah, if I don't actually see it, I write it down that I heard only. So we're going to go to the right here and go over by closer to the river, and then pretty soon we'll stop at the bald eagle nest. Our common little downy woodpecker. We just heard a call. There's probably, 5 or 10 of them down here. They set up their territories, and they're pretty easy to see. They're small, black and white woodpecker, downy woodpecker.
There's the bald eagle's nest, the bald eagle in it.
We'll get closer to the bald eagle nest. There's 2 downy woodpeckers calling back and forth to each other. Probably a territorial thing.
All right, here's another spot that we stop often. It's important to know that the birds don't necessarily just jump out at you right in the first few minutes that you're there. You might have to stay in one spot and be quiet for a while and really listen, really pay attention before you'll see all of the things in a particular area.
Can you hear that song? That's the song sparrow. Very common species down here.
And a chickadee.
Chickadee down there, black-capped chickadee.
We saw an osprey.
A very loud, there's a loud wren right here close to us. There's a loud wren called Buick's wren.
You hear Canada goose.
So your species list has about 62 species that we'd like you to know that you're responsible for. And then we'll run into other species that are not on your list. You still need to record those in your notebook, but they will not be on the final. So we're trying to keep it to a manageable number. 62 is not that many species. Here's the sweetheart call. Sweetheart, that's the black-capped chickadee.
So we are kind of at the end of our walk for today, but you can go across that bridge. This is the north end of the Horan, and we're going to go back down this way to complete the loop, but there are other places you can go. There's a moose that hangs out in this area, and we've seen wood ducks up there. There are things you can see from the bridge itself. But we're going to head back on this walk now, and we'll show you the species that we found by the end.
Bald nest down here now. Become a lot more common since we quit using DDT on everything. There's the eagle nest. When you're walking through here, don't make too much noise, kind of walk through. There's the osprey flying right above the eagle. So we have a crow, bald eagle, and an osprey. Here, the osprey will come back. The osprey, of course, is the sea hawk. Another common name for the osprey. But the osprey and the eagle will kind of call back and forth to each other, or try to keep away from each other. So here we are at the bald eagle nest site. There's a bald eagle near the nest. The other one's probably out feeding. They eat fish for the most part. There's also osprey around here. They compete with the bald eagle a little bit for fish and for nesting sites.
And we're also in the area where there are lots of red-winged blackbirds, and that's what you're hearing, that high-pitched.
They make a Dorito sound, and they're quite common down here. They're on your species list. They have red on their epaulet, on their shoulders, bright red. And they're setting up their territories now. And the females are harder to find, harder to see. There's a lot of sexual dimorphism. The female red-winged blackbirds are smaller and streaked gray and white and brown streaked birds.
All right, we made it back to the parking area, and we've seen 34 species today in this short walk. You want to read them off?
Yes, we have a few of these I'm going to talk about. The mallard, common duck, they're all over the place. These widgeons will be here for a while. At the end of a walk, I'll write down how many we saw. I saw about 14 mallards. There's about 110 widgeons, and I'll write down how many I saw of each species. American robin's very common. You'll know some of these species already. The robin with the reddish breast. Common merganser's a large duck that breeds down here. We saw these out in this little swimming area. Killdeer, a little shorebird along the shore and on the grass, black and white striped. Green-winged teal, small duck. Belted kingfisher, unique bird. Steller's jays. Red-winged blackbird, Say's phoebe, Buick's wren, bald eagle with a nest down there. Tree swallow. Swallows are flying high. Small insectivorous birds. Mourning dove, American goldfinch, should be in your yard too. Song sparrow, yellow-rumped warbler, American coot, Canada goose. Canada goose is very common. Violet green swallow, pied-billed grebe, ring-billed gull, a common gull we have here this time of year. American crow should be in your yard. Northern flicker, a common woodpecker. House finch, black-capped chickadee, little chickadee with white cheeks and a black cap on top of its head. Osprey or seahawk, gray blue heron, Eurasian collared dove, Say's phoebe, downy woodpecker, European starling. Now if you go on a walk like this and see 10 species and can identify 10 species, that would be great. That's what we're looking for. I want you to come down here and write down the species you see. You're probably not going to see 34 on an hour and a half walk, but if you see 5 species, that's great. Write them down, and then you'll post them on our Canvas site. We'll give you directions